Hey everyone, today I wanted to take you through how to make an easy throw pillow out of a bandana or a scarf. A couple of years ago I acquired this BBJ scarf from my friend Silke that is made of acrylic and was made in Japan. I couldn't find a source for this. I tried to find other ones, and just today I found this user on Amazon called John's Imports, which sells these bandanas. Now, the photography and in the video doesn't really portray the background color on these bandanas, but I believe that all of these are fluorescent colors. What I'm doing here is I'm taking the bandana and I'm cutting it down to the exact dimensions of my pillow insert. My pillow insert is down, and you can see it in the background there. It's not as full as most polyfill or other synthetic pillow inserts. And keeping the dimensions a little bit tight on this cover, make sure that the pillow, even though it's slouchy, stays full and structured. I grabbed all my solid cottons from Kona Cottons to try and figure out if there was a color that went with the fabric print. And I also grabbed a collection of velvet ribbons so that I could add a decorative trim to the flaps on the back of the pillow cover. So now I'm cutting out the dimensions of the pillow in two long flaps so that I can make overlapping velvet trimmed panels on the back of the pillow. Here I've grabbed my bolt of Pellin lightweight interfacing. I suggest that you guys use a fusible interfacing that you can iron on to the back of your bandana or scarf. That would make it a lot easier to layer the fabrics later and to construct the pillow. But I already had a bolt of this, so I went ahead and used it. I'm going to have to piece two of these pieces together and make a large piece of interfacing so that it fits the back of my scarf. So now I've ironed my back pieces, and I've actually used too much steam, so they're a little wet in the photography, but I want to go ahead and sew down the raw edges of the sides of the back panels that will be exposed. So this would be where you access the pillow insert to take it out so that you can clean the cover or change the cover. On the second piece where I'm attaching the velvet trim, I went ahead and just top stitched this down while eyeballing it. I would actually recommend that you use some type of iron-on stitch witchery or something to hold the velvet down first before top stitching, because I did wind up with a bit of puckering and a bit of gathering that doesn't look as nice. But luckily this is on the back of the pillow, and it was just a experiment to see what I could do with the trim, but overall it looks good. But I would just recommend that you fasten the ribbon prior to sewing it down. Now that I have all the panels done, I go ahead and I lay the pillow front face up, then the outside panel on the back face down with the velvet ribbon, and then the innermost panel face down with no ribbon detailing. And I'm going to go ahead and pin this all together and then get ready to sew around the entire pillow, making sure that everything is smooth, there are no wrinkles, there are no puckers. I double check. If you notice, I lift up the corners and double check that the body of the fabric is not puckered or pleated in any way. So now it's time for me to sew the outer edges of the pillow. If you notice, what I'm doing here is I'm starting at a corner and I'm starting about an inch in. Even though my seam allowance, I'm planning for it to be about half an inch, I actually chamfer or cut in on the corners of my square pillows. Now, this was a lesson taught to me a long time ago by my home ec teacher in Virginia, but the reason for doing this, and I'll put a diagram up, is that when your pillow is in a perfect square, you get this thing called dog earring. And what happens is the pillow insert can't actually fill 90-degree corners. And so what you get is this extra flap of thin fabric, which looks really weird on your pillows. So what you can do is you can cut in on your seam allowance about an inch on each corner, and then towards the center of the pillow, work back out to your half an inch seam allowance. That will help you get the appropriate shape for when you put your insert in so that the pillow looks square and full. After you've sewn the contours of this pillow, you are absolutely going to want to go over the corners and sew over them again with a smaller stitch. I usually do about a 2.0. What that does is that strengthens the corners. And the reason for that you'll see in the next clip is so we can get a really good looking finish on our pillow when we turn it right side out. I went ahead and backstitched over my corners to strengthen them because now that it's time to trim up my pillow, I need to be trimming the excess seam allowance as close to the corners as possible. So that will really weaken the seam if you don't have it double stitched. I went ahead and cut off all the excess and pretty much brought it down to 1/4 of an inch, but at the corners I've cut almost right next to the corner. So when I turn this inside out, there won't be any excess fabric in the corners. I didn't grab any footage of this, but in between each of these steps, I am ironing the piece. Even if it's already been ironed and hasn't been messed with that much, I continually am ironing this pillow case, and I'm also pressing open seams. Even if I end up trimming up most of the excess, I want this to look professional and clean. After that, I turned the pillow right side out. I poked out the corners to get them to have a strong angle with a pair of scissors, and then I went ahead and cleaned my pillow insert and put the pillow inside the cover, and here it is. This pillow ended up introducing a new pattern and tons of new colors into my living room, which actually were not there to begin with. It's a conversation piece, it's comfortable, and everyone talks about it when they walk into the house. So I'm really glad that I made this, and it's from a thrift shop find. If you go out and find cheap bandanas or scarves, think again before putting them back on the shelf if they're worth putting into your interior design. Thank you all for coming and watching, and let me know below if you have any questions about this process, or hit me up on social media at jcrafthouse. Thanks.